In the last month, the news media has been talking about the New World Order. In this video, I'm going to talk about what that is and what it means for your money. President Biden used the phrase New World Order a few weeks ago on March 21st in a speech to the Business Roundtable's CEO quarterly meeting. In the notes provided by the White House, he says, "My mother had an expression, out of everything terrible, something good will come if you look hard enough for it. I think this presents us with some significant opportunities to make some real changes. We are at an inflection point in the world economy that occurs every 3 or 4 generations. As one of the top military people said to me in a secure meeting the other day, 60 million people died between 1900 and 1946. And since then, we've established a liberal world order. And that hadn't happened in a long while. A lot of people dying, but nowhere near the chaos. And now is a time when things are shifting. There's going to be a new world order out there, and we've got to lead it. And we've got to unite the rest of the free world in doing it." Last week, on April 13th, only 3 weeks later, Janet Yellen, U.S. Treasury Secretary, gave a speech to the Atlantic Council think tank in Washington, D.C. In the speech, she mentions a new economic order 6 times. She says, "The Russian invasion of Ukraine has dramatically demonstrated the need for us to stand together to defend our international order and protect the peace and prosperity that it's conferred on advanced and developing countries alike." These comments are not just coming from U.S. politicians. A few weeks ago, on March 30th, China and Russia foreign ministers met and gave a joint press conference on their own vision of a new world order. They said, "We, together with you and with our sympathizers, will move toward a multipolar, just, democratic world order." It should be noted that China and Russia's form of democracy is very different from the US. So we have all these politicians around the world talking about the New World Order. What does that mean? It's also strange that politicians would use this phrase when it is a common conspiracy theory. The conspiracy theory is that there is a group of global elite that are trying to set up world domination, called the New World Order. This was formerly a fringe conspiracy theory, but it really took off in June 2020 at the start of the pandemic. What gave this conspiracy credibility was the World Economic Forum. The World Economic Forum consists of the wealthiest people in the world who meet every year to discuss global plans. 2020 was highly publicized around the idea of the Great Reset. The idea was that the world was going to need to be rebuilt in a new way after the pandemic. What is so disturbing is part of the marketing for this event was a flashy video that uses the phrase, "You will own nothing and be happy." It is talking about what life will be like in 2030, less than 10 years from now, and also discusses other things like deliveries made by drones and that people will eat less meat. Now, we all just experienced the pandemic, where the world accomplished a very coordinated response to COVID-19. So it should not be surprising that this conspiracy theory has taken off. When you have large events with rich people talking about a new world order, followed by government intervention, followed by politicians using the phrase, it sounds like a conspiracy. But you also have to at least consider another alternative. These events could also be explained not by a conspiracy, but simply by rich people hanging out with each other. People in groups talk about the same things. Politicians hang out with rich people, and they pick up their language. That's how any common phrase spreads. It does not necessarily mean that there's a malicious motive out there to take over the world. The problem with conspiracy theories is that it distracts you from the very real problems that we should be addressing, like government corruption. Let us look at the World Health Organization. Now, we do need global cooperation to respond to health risks. But when we look at what happened during the pandemic, I have some serious questions. The pandemic started in China. The World Health Organization was supposed to investigate the origins of the virus, and they did a very poor job. Now, we have no way of verifying whether it was a lab leak. It turns out the head of the World Health Organization is Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus. This man is the former Foreign Affairs Minister for Ethiopia, in a role where he dealt closely with China. Ethiopia owes China $13.7 billion. This is viewed with concern from Western countries as a China debt trap. China can use a country's inability to pay their debt to gain influence. So with the World Health Organization, how do we know that this is not government corruption? Because it certainly seems like Dr. Ghebreyesus looked the other way on China's involvement in the virus. I encourage people to think about the New World Order in a more nuanced way. These politicians are not wrong for talking about it. There's always going to be global coordination. We do need the UN and the WHO and the World Bank. What we do not need is the corruption. You do not want to lose sight of what is really important: democracy versus tyranny. China and Russia are using corruption to control global organizations that are affecting our lives here in the US. That is not right. If they want to participate in the UN, it needs to be on a fair playing field, not through corruption. You gotta realize that not everyone has the opportunity to vote that we have in the US. The recent Economist Intelligence Democracy Index Report 2021 reports that less than half of the world lives in a democracy where people can vote on decisions that affect their lives. The World Health Organization shouldn't be making decisions over your health if you cannot vote them out or investigate them for corruption. You need to be able to vote for your leaders. What I think is important when you think about the New World Order is to realize that you are a part of it. You have a voice and can impact how the future of our world turns out. All you have to do is understand your choices. The World Economic Forum is putting out slick marketing that is confusing a lot of people. Their marketing is based on what is in the best interest for rich people, not in your best interest. Now, I don't think people understand what it means when they say, "You will own nothing and be happy." People think that's talking about communism, but it is far worse than that. If you look into what the documents say, this is referring to a very specific economic system called feudalism. They're not advocating for taking away property rights, only property rights for poor people. The rich people still keep all of the property. We have seen this play out in history before in the period called the Dark Ages. This was the period when there were castles owned by royal families throughout Europe. This happened because people willingly gave up their human rights. Here's what happened. After the fall of the Roman Empire, the world's currencies collapsed. Political power became centered on a few wealthy royal families. They gave the poor people of Europe an option. Come live on our land and work the fields, and we will give you protection and food. People gave up their freedom to become tied to the land. The deal they took was they would own nothing and be happy. So what does this mean for your money? I will tell you, it is not good. I don't know what rich people want to go back to a time when royal families ruled in castles, because we know what happened. It was the Dark Ages. It was not even good for the rich people. There was 900 years of economic recession. What brought us out of the Dark Ages was the Renaissance. Capitalism and property rights during the Renaissance gave the world prosperity again. And it did not just give us money, but also art, democracy, and freedom. So we are sitting here today and we have a choice. We can choose capitalism or feudalism. We know from history which option turns out better for everyone. History has shown over and over that free market solutions are the best way to achieve economic prosperity. If you are in the US, you have a choice. You can choose leaders that stand for free market solutions. Now I want to hear from you. Why do you think all these politicians are using the phrase New World Order? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Zach from Wolves in Finance. Let's go out and make some money.